Your host, Congressman Buck McKeon.
You know, I like to talk to other members and learn about their districts, because it's really interesting how our forefathers understood and had the foresight to see what a vast, I mean, when they wrote the Constitution, the country was a small part of what it is now. And you look at your rural area of Tennessee has some real similarities and some real differences to my district. I have schools, I have a county of 10,000 square miles with only about 20,000 people. And they have some small schools. I have another county of about 3,500 square miles with about 10,000 people. I have a school that was built for 100 kids. They only had 60 kids. And then I have in the southern part of my district that is growing very rapidly. They can't build schools fast enough, and they have overcrowding. And all of that is in one congressional district. Now you sit here in Washington and try to pass a bill that fits every one of those schools, every one of those classrooms in my district and in your district, and you think we're going to get it right every time on all? No. And that's why it's important to us to set it up so there's enough flexibility, enough parental choice, enough local control that people can fix those things. I mean, it doesn't make any sense where you take a school with 8 graduates, 4 that receive scholarships to go on to university, and because one student, for whatever reason, drops out, that you're going to call that a failing school. I mean, another thing that people are looking for, I think you had it right on, they're looking for red, white, and blue. They pay us pretty good money to come back here and solve some of these problems, address some of these problems. It's like the last year, we've been just kind of treading water. We're really not addressing the things that we're sent here to do, and it's unfortunate. I think a lot of people don't really understand it. When I first came here, I thought that all Republicans would always work together and all Democrats would work together, and most of the time we would all work together, you know, really focusing on America's problems. I found out that that's not the way it works around here. And it's unfortunate, because one of the things our forefathers, I think when they established our system, I think they did it with inspiration, and they did it with the idea that they didn't want one person to get too much power. You know, they had just left kings, and they were trying to get away from that, and they did a very good job. But I think one of the things that we're grappling with is it's the environment around here now is people are looking for power, and that kind of trumps everything else. Yeah, somebody told me the other day that you guys, meaning Republicans, focus on policy and the Democrats focus on politics, and the two don't seem to mingle always. I've always felt that good policy is good politics. If we could do the things that people would like to see us achieve to fix this kind of a situation where you're grappling with a failing school that most people, common sense, would say, no way that's failing. You know, they're doing a great job. That's why we should really get together and reauthorize this and fix those particular problems, the special needs, the English second language, the growth models, the things that most people around the country that are dealing with, as you found in your forum and as I've found in other states around the country, the suggestions were almost universal. And they must sit there thinking, why can't you fix these few things? And they say, well, you know, special interests have too much power. The teachers' unions have a lot of power with the Democrats, and for whatever reason, they have some real problems with this, with the reauthorization, and it's unfortunate, because these things we could have really fixed. So what we need to do, I guess, is go back to the chairman and say, come on, you know, let's be grown-ups and let's try to get this thing done. If we could get in that kind of environment, what are some of the things that you would like to see addressed in the bill?
I think English is a second language. I think graduation rates. I think looking at the ROTC instructors, those are all common sense, and that's what the American people are looking for right now. They're looking for common sense leadership. Here in Washington this month, the leadership in Washington has decided the most important thing in America is to hold a week-long hearing on baseball. Now, I don't hear that in my district as the number one issue. I don't think East Tennesseans go to bed worried about baseball, and they don't wake up in the morning worried about baseball. But they do worry about the economy. They worry about too much spending. They worry about too much taxing. They worry about their children having a good education so they can go out and get a good job, compete globally. Those are the things that the American people are looking for. Energy prices are through the roof. That's what the American people want us to come here to Washington to do, is work on those things that are important to the American people and use some common sense and bring it up in committee so we can debate it, vote on it, and then move forward.
Boy, David, you really cut to the core on these things. Very, very good. The hearing that we held on, not our committee, but then the other committee on drug use in baseball. You know, we passed a couple of years ago when I was chairman of the committee, we passed a mining safety bill. We lost about 30 lives that year in mine accidents, and it was very important. And that was one time where we did come to work, and we got the work done, and we passed the mining safety legislation. It was the first mining safety legislation that we'd passed here in 20 years. And it was a 3-year implementation that is being done across the country as we speak. Mines are doing things to make them more safe for our miners, which they should do. As you know, in our committee, we have the education and we have the labor issues. Just a few weeks ago, we passed another mining safety bill that probably will put in jeopardy the one that we passed, because before it gets implemented, they want to change some other things. Well, it's not going to become law, but nothing's happening in the Senate on it. But the point that we made when we were on the floor debating that issue was the Washington Post came out with a story of we had more miners dying from drug overdose because it's hard work, you know, working in the mines, and they want to they get injuries and they get on prescription drugs or whatever. They become addicted to it, and it ends up in one state. The story said they had over 200 deaths in 1 year from these drugs, and we have not held one hearing on that. And yet we can spend all day and weeks talking about drugs in professional baseball players, which, you know, I'm sorry that they're using drugs, and it does change the records and so forth, and I feel bad about that. But, well, David, it's been marvelous having you on the show here today. I think that hopefully the people in our audience got a little sense of you and learned a little bit about Tennessee, and hopefully a little bit more about No Child Left Behind and some of the things that we're working on here. And I thank you for taking the time and being with us here today, and I thank you for listening.